Hello everyone and welcome to my bold and the beautiful official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please press the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In Forrester's design office, Brooke is smiling about press from the fashion show when Taylor appears in the doorway. Brooke tells her about it and says Katie had commodity special to work with in the marketing. Taylor says, "You and Ridge. I'd suppose that would be old news by now." Taylor recaps that the fashion show was a big success. A big part of that was Brooke in the beautiful gown. Brooke says it was the moment she participated with Ridge that caught everyone's attention. Taylor would envy her that. It's good for the company. Brooke asks, "Only for the company?" Taylor smirks, "As far as I can tell, that's as far as it goes." Taylor admits she's been insecure in the history, but life is too short to live that way. Ridge is with her because he wants to be. She thinks the moment on the runway was a moment between two people with history, but it was just a fleeting moment and has no impact on his love for her. Brooke Taylor B&B. Katie pesters Ridge. In the main office, Katie tells Ridge that he and Brooke were always meant to be together. She gets a dupe of the new Ion fashion and shows Ridge that she got Brooke on the cover. She looks stunning in that looker. Ridge flashes back to the event and grunts, "You're not wrong." Katie knows he's married to Taylor, but he needs to be honest. "You miss Brooke." Ridge admits the gown had an impact on him. Katie reminds him they always find their way back together. Why should this time be any different? Ridge says it's different because he's with Taylor. He wants to be better and not hurt presently. "I've done enough of that." Katie Ridge B&B. Zend calls out Daphne. In the dressing area, Daphne is allowing about Carter when Zend comes by and calls her on it. "You love Carter." Daphne just finds it confusing. Why was Hope allowed back at Forrester? Why would they want someone there who stole the company? Zend reminds her Carter was involved. Daphne believes Hope was pushing him to do effects against his nature. Forrester is better off without Hope. Zend's surprised to see her get attached to Carter. Daphne wonders what woman would fall for him. Zend replies, "Including Hope." Daphne believes she's bad for the company and doesn't know why Steffi would trust her. She says she's sure Hope is going after someone differently. Carter is her history and she's his future. Hope and Carter recommit. At Carter's garret, Hope tells him she loves him. "Don't ever misdoubt that." He says he'll no way make that mistake again. They sit, and Carter tells her what's passing to Liam is beyond appreciation, but she can lean on him every step of the way. Hope embraces him. Hope asks for a clean slate regarding the kiss with Daphne and everything that happened with the company. It should just be them again. Carter agrees. Hope says now they get to make their future together. Carter vows he'll no way let her down again, and they kiss. Carter Hope kiss B&B. Latterly, Carter welcomes Daphne back. She tells him she heard Hope is back at Forrester. Daphne knows he felt bad about her being penalized when he was allowed to return. She asks if he's working from home to avoid Hope. Carter says he just saw her. She asks if Hope knows what he eavesdropped between her and Liam. Carter says yes. She's sorry, but he'll find love again. Carter tells her, "You're right. I have." Daphne tells him how surprised she's by the impact he's had on her. She's no way felt this way about anyone. Carter chuckles, life has a way of throwing curveballs. Daphne caresses his arms. She wants to enjoy the lift and take a vault of faith. Feeling vulnerable is new too. Carter knows it can be scary. No bone. Wants to be the one to break someone's heart. Daphne vows she wouldn't break his heart. "I suppose I've fallen in love with you." Carter gasps, "Daphne." He says he's set up love again, but it's with Hope. I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt you, but Hope and I are together again. Hope enters the design office at Forrester and can tell commodities bothering her mama. Brooke says Taylor was just there. She's enough confident about her future with Ridge. Brooke just felt so important connecting with Ridge on the runway. She thinks he felt the same. Hope does, and suppose it's in her head. Brooke aloud. It was the morning of their reunion, but now she's not so sure. Ridge has always been her heart and she's always followed her heart. She's just getting the feeling that's what she should be doing right now. She has to believe they will be together. In the main office, Katie wouldn't believe Ridge will ever love anyone like Brooke. Ridge loves Taylor and he's hurt her a lot. He broke her heart literally. Katie says he'll do it again because he belongs with Brooke. Ridge, frustrated, doesn't want to have this discussion with her presently. Katie warns he can deny it, but he's just putting off the ineluctable. She opens the door to leave and runs into Taylor. Once Katie's gone, Taylor tells Ridge she's sure Katie was there to lobby him to go back to Brooke. She's not surprised given the Logans stick together. She'd do the same for someone she loves. Taylor fills him in on her converse with Brooke before and how she congratulated her on the fashion show. Ridge thinks it takes a big person to do that. Taylor says she also merited to hear that they're still together. I'm confident in you. In us. This is our time, Ridge. This is our chapter and it's going to be the most beautiful chapter. They kiss and embrace, with Ridge stewing over her shoulder. In the sleek glass-paneled design office at Forrester Creations, sunlight poured through like a spotlight on Brooke Logan's golden hair as she grinned at the latest Ion fashion issue featuring her gracing the cover in a sweeping, silver silk gown, the very one she wore during that now infamous moment on the runway beside Ridge Forrester, but before the air could settle around her soft satisfaction. Taylor Hayes appeared in the doorway like a shadow of history reawakening, her expression unreadable, layered with grace, defense, and a restrained ache that always seemed to accompany their conversations. Brooke welcomed her with a veneer of cordiality, gushing about the PR triumph and how Katie spun the marketing into gold, but Taylor's retort sliced clean through the gloss, "You and Ridge. I'd think that would be old news by now," she quipped, and though her tone was light, her eyes betrayed a storm of insecurity she desperately fought to keep leashed, and when she complimented the show's success, specifically Brooke's ethereal turn in the gown, it was less praise and more a veiled acknowledgement of the threat that moment posed to her fragile hold on Ridge's heart, and Brooke, never one to miss a subtext, responded with a carefully barbed smile, noting it wasn't just the gown but the moment with Ridge that mesmerized the audience, to which Taylor, ever the psychologist, nodded knowingly and countered that it may have looked magical, but it held no weight, no substance, not to Ridge, not anymore, and though her voice remained even, her fingers twitched at her sides as if reaching for an anchor, because deep down, she knew there was truth in Brooke's eyes, in the electricity of that runway glance, in the way Ridge's breath caught as he looked at his former wife as if no time had passed, as if everything still lived between them, and meanwhile, Katie Logan, ever the Logan cheerleader and unrelenting advocate for her sister's happiness, confronted Ridge in the main office, determined to crack the stoic wall he'd built around himself to protect Taylor from the undeniable truth that his soul, his marrow, still belonged to Brooke, and with the cover in hand, Katie pointed to Brooke's radiant image and declared that he missed her, that he always would, and Ridge, his voice thick with conflict, admitted the dress stirred something in him, as it always did when Brooke was involved, because there was no history like theirs, no chemistry as combustible, but he was weary of the collateral damage his choices had wrought, of the emotional carnage his pendulum heart left behind, and he swore he wanted to be better, for Taylor, for his children, for himself, but Katie wouldn't yield, telling him that denying his feelings was just delaying the inevitable fall back into Brooke's arms, and Ridge, too haunted by Taylor's illness and the echoes of her nearly fatal brush with broken heart syndrome, growled that he had no choice but to stay the course, to not let guilt or fate dictate his path anymore, even if that meant burying his desires. But as Katie left, Taylor appeared like fate herself, sharing how she just exchanged compliments with Brooke, though her tone hinted at deeper barbs beneath the surface, and when she declared that she believed in their love. And that this was their time, their chapter. Ridge embraced her, but over her shoulder, his eyes were lost in thoughts of Brooke, of what could have been, of what perhaps still was, and across the Forrester campus, tension simmered hotter, especially in the design dressing room where Zend confronted Daphne Rose, who was visibly flustered, clearly fantasizing about Carter Walton, and Zend, a master of reading unspoken truths, called her out on her obsession, bluntly noting that she was in love with Carter and masking it behind her disdain for Hope Logan's return, and Daphne, biting her lip and trembling with the desperate desire she could no longer contain, admitted she didn't understand how Hope, who once betrayed the company, was welcomed back, but her protests were a smokescreen for heartbreak, because she believed Hope didn't deserve Carter, not when she discarded him so easily, not when Daphne herself would have cherished him beyond measure, and Zend, watching her unravel, reminded her that Carter had a past with Hope, but that didn't mean he didn't have a future with someone else, someone who truly saw him. But Daphne, emboldened by hope and ego, vowed she'd win Carter's heart, believing that what they shared was real. And across town in Carter's loft, Hope arrived with tears brimming in her eyes, guilt and love battling inside her chest as she told Carter she loved him, that she always had, and begged for a clean slate, for forgiveness, for a future unmarred by Daphne's kiss or past mistakes. And Carter, whose heart had always belonged to her, took her into his arms and said he'd never make the mistake of doubting her again, even as the ghost of Liam Spencer loomed large over them, his illness, his diagnosis, his looming mortality making every romantic decision fraught with sorrow and uncertainty. And as they kissed with a promise of renewal, Daphne arrived later, unaware of the reunion, and confessed to Carter that she had never felt this way about anyone before, pouring her heart out, tracing his arms with trembling fingers, hoping for even a flicker of reciprocation. But Carter gently pulled away and told her the truth, that he'd found love again, but not with her, with Hope. And Daphne's world cracked open as her confession was met with the softest rejection, and the man she thought she could build a future with vanished into the arms of another. And back at Forrester, Hope walked in on her mother staring wistfully at a swatch of fabric, lost in thought, and Brooke admitted that Taylor had been there, confident and territorial, claiming Ridge with words veiled in class but sharpened with possessiveness. And though Brooke respected her strength, she couldn't help but recall how it felt when Ridge looked at her on the runway. That moment wasn't just a ghost of their past, it was a living, breathing reminder of their love. And Hope, seeing her mother's pain, encouraged her to follow her heart, just like she had with Carter, because life was short, and when love called, you had to answer, even if the world judged you for it. And while Ridge tried to stay steadfast with Taylor, her confident declarations and faith in their future only added to his guilt, for he knew his heart beat differently when Brooke was near. And as the days passed, the pressure mounted, secrets brewed, and Daphne, furious at her rejection, began plotting Hope's downfall at Forrester, quietly collecting allies and sowing doubt, vowing to rise in the company even if it meant playing dirty, while Katie continued whispering truths to Ridge, nudging him toward inevitable collision with his own emotions. And Brooke, armed with her belief that she and Ridge were meant to be, began planning a collection inspired by their love story, a bold move that reignited media attention and forced Taylor to confront the fact that her hold on Ridge might be rooted more in fear than in fate. And as tensions climaxed during a press conference where Brooke unveiled her designs, including one named Destiny, an obvious ode to Ridge, Taylor stood by Ridge's side, her smile brittle as glass, while Ridge's eyes traced Brooke like a man haunted by a love that refused to die. And the room, filled with flashing cameras and knowing glances, held its breath as history threatened to repeat itself once more. In the sleek elegance of Forrester Creations' design office, sunlight filtered through the blinds, catching the soft glint of silk swatches and polished chrome, as Brooke Logan stood smiling, her eyes sparkling with pride and nostalgia as she ran her fingers over the glossy new issue of Ion Fashion, the cover gleaming with her own image in that unforgettable showstopper gown. When Taylor Hayes stepped into the doorway, her presence graceful but heavy with unspoken tension, the air between them as taut as the stitches in a Forrester original. Brooke turned, smile unwavering. "Did you see the press? Katie really pulled off something special in the marketing," to which Taylor arched a brow, her tone deceptively light. "You and Ridge, I'd think that would be old news by now," her words floating like silk but edged with steel. And though Brooke chuckled, the moment was charged with memories both bitter and beautiful. As Taylor crossed the room, arms folded, observing the office where so many dreams had been designed and undone, noting the undeniable success of the fashion show and conceding, "A big part of that was you, Brooke, in that gown." but Brooke, ever perceptive, replied, "It was the moment I shared with Ridge that caught everyone's attention," the sentence hanging in the air like perfume, delicate but lingering, and Taylor, chin held high, replied she wouldn't begrudge her that, it was good for the company, after all, but when Brooke teased, "Only for the company?" Taylor smirked with the coolness of a woman who'd faced her demons and survived. "As far as I can tell, that's as far as it goes," before confessing that while she had been insecure in the past, life was too precious to live in fear, and Ridge was with her because he wanted to be, not out of guilt or obligation, and while the runway moment was poignant, it was just a fleeting connection between two people with history. It had no bearing on his love for her, Taylor, the woman he'd chosen, the woman he came home to, and while Brooke processed that, her heart quietly bruising under her confident exterior, Katie Logan was downstairs in the main office, brandishing the very same eye on fashion cover as she confronted Ridge Forrester, her tone persistent. "You and Brooke were always meant to be," and though Ridge resisted, claiming he was with Taylor and that it was different this time, Katie pushed harder, tapping the magazine. "You miss her," and Ridge, momentarily caught in the pull of the past, admitted the gown had shaken something loose in him, igniting memories he thought he'd buried, yet he insisted he wanted to be better, to stop hurting the women in his life, but Katie warned him, "You can deny it all you want, but it's only a matter of time, this has always been your pattern," and as she left, Taylor stepped into the aftermath, reading the guilt and conflict written all over Ridge's face, affirming her faith in him, in them, unaware that Ridge's heart was a battlefield of past and present, torn between the serenity of Taylor's love and the tempest of Brooke's allure, while elsewhere in the dressing area, Daphne hovered near racks of shimmering dresses, lost in thought about Carter Walton, her heart a tangle of hope and hesitation, until Zen Dominguez strolled in, sharp-eyed and direct, "You love Carter," and though Daphne deflected, questioning Hope's reinstatement at Forrester and doubting her integrity, Zen reminded her that Carter had been involved too, and while Daphne claimed Hope had manipulated him, Zen saw the truth. Daphne was falling hard, and maybe, just maybe, Carter was already spoken for, yet Daphne, unshaken, insisted Hope was the past, and she, Daphne, was his future. Even as across town in Carter's loft, Hope Logan was professing her love to Carter with the fierce sincerity of someone who had lost and reclaimed it. "Don't ever doubt that," she whispered, and Carter, eyes searching hers, vowed never to make that mistake again, pulling her close, both yearning to rewrite their story from the ashes of scandal and regret, and as they kissed, sealing their recommitment, hope flickered anew between them, but nothing in LA stays uncomplicated for long, and not much later, when Carter welcomed Daphne for what she hoped was a moment of possibility, she confessed her feelings with a vulnerable heart, "I think I've fallen in love with you," only to be met with Carter's gentle truth, "I've found love again, but it's with Hope," and though he tried to soften the blow, Daphne's smile cracked, her dreams unraveling like a hem snagged on thorns, just as Hope, back at Forrester, sensed unease in her mother's expression, Brooke quietly confessing that Taylor's confidence had shaken her, that the moment on the runway hadn't felt like just a moment, not to her, and she feared maybe she had misread it, but her heart, her stubborn, relentless heart, told her otherwise, that she and Ridge were inevitable, destined, unbreakable, and while she clung to that belief, Ridge stood with Taylor, embracing her physically but stewing emotionally, haunted by Katie's words, Brooke's eyes, and his own history, even as Taylor whispered against his ear, "This is our time, Ridge, our chapter, the most beautiful one yet," and he nodded, lips brushing hers, while his soul warred with the truth he was too afraid to speak. His love for Taylor real but shadowed by the gravity of Brooke's presence, because in the world of Forrester, where stitches are as tight as secrets and hearts as fragile as silk, nothing stays buried forever, and the past, like fashion, always comes back around. Liam's grim diagnosis shocks everyone, Hope spirals, Sheila goes rogue. B&B spoilers, Liam's countdown begins, Hope's heartbreak, Sheila's last stand. Sheila's desperate move, Liam's dying, and Hope can't handle what's coming. Hope's future crumbles, Liam's life at risk, and Sheila's out of control. Week of May 26th shockers, Liam's death looms, Sheila schemes, Hope shattered. Later, Carter welcomes Daphne back. She tells him she heard Hope is back at Forrester. Daphne knows he felt bad about her being punished when he was allowed to return. She asks if he's working from home to avoid Hope. Carter says he just saw her. She asks if Hope knows what he overheard between her and Liam. Carter says yes.